Oh, you just don't understand it. No, there's a deeper meaning here.
Wait, I sound like an absolute dick.
Well, imagine that.
He says, age 43, sat in a big yellow jumper with sunshades on.
I thought you were Pikachu to start with. But I'm glad that I've got the picture here so I can figure out.
Welcome to Book Club.
Except instead of books, it's games.
Oh, and instead of a club, there's us two.
But the rest of the idea is 100% the same.
As every fortnight, we play one game solidly,
Then come here to talk about it.
and we want you to do the same.
All the games are retro.
Most of them are Sega,
Some of them we've never played.
or, we've just forgotten we've played them.
Because we're old.
Because we're old! Because we're old.
Because we're old.
The Book Club has one central theme.
We play retro games for their quality.
Games that deserve to still be played.
There are some bonus old man memories to be had, but you don't need nostalgia if the game is awesome.
We're going to prove it.
In the Book Club.
Hello, and welcome to Book Club. I'm just going to put the deodorant away.
It is Book Club and not Bedgel's personal OnlyFans.
Listen, if this whole thing doesn't work out, I'm going to transition. That's all I'm going to say. I just the tension as I had to hold that pose that the girlfriend might come into the room while I was doing it. That'd be over. I mean, forget the podcast being over. That would have been relationship over.
You would be done.
How are you? While you tell me how you are, I'm going to swap my shades over. Oh my god, it's bright. Oh my god, yeah. Hi.
Well, yeah, I'm all right.
It's not
How
me.
are you?
It's Bedroom. Did you know? Oh.
My goodness,
I know.
what a transfer! It's like Superman.
Now, I'm not the only one sporting some killer vibes. By the way, for those that are listening, not viewing, what you're missing out on here is a bright yellow, decidedly Jet Set Radio Future themed jumper, hoodie, it does have a hood, and I was just about to point out that Dibs, you've got yourself a little bit of Sega magic as well, rocking up.
Oh, I have, but I was just going to clarify. If anyone wanted to know what Bedger was looking like, just look at the front cover of Jet Set Radio
it's like
Future.
twins.
It's the same.
It's like
yes.
twins.
It is. But yes, what are you talking about? This my new Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt from Primani.
It's from Primani,
Seven big ones.
The weird thing about some of the stuff that ends up in Primani is it looks so awesome and retro. Do you know what I mean? Because it's, I guess,
it does.
It
looks like it's had many a wash.
It may sound like a diss, but because it's cheap, it looks good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I can guarantee you, it has not had one wash yet. I've owned it for several. No, I'm just kidding.
Aroma.
It will be one of the prizes in the Christmas Nights competition. No, I'm kidding.
Oh dear, everyone's just dropped out. Who knew?
Yeah.
Actually, what I was going to say, they're not in there, but one of the intended prizes was going to be the socks from last year's competition that were never actually claimed. But then it kind of sounds like who wants to win some year-old socks? It just doesn't really appeal. So what can you do?
Well, I don't know. There are some people out there, so
Kinky. I'll
Yes.
tell you what, the ideas are coming thick and fast. We've had OnlyFans and like smelly sock sales. Dude, I feel like there's something within you that wants to get out. Do you want to share? You know?
You're talking about introducing the game.
Well, let's go there before this gets dirty. Let's go there.
Okay.
Tell us about the game.
So, well, as announced in the last video, it is Jet Set Radio Future on the Xbox. So we are branching out here and going for I think it is our first non-SEGA console, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's the first to say, because I mean, when I look at the consoles we're even likely to cover, I mean, there's not going to be a whole bunch that's not on Sega consoles, so it very much stands out that this is the first non-Sega console.
Yeah.
So, but as a lot of people say, I mean, certainly this era with this game, the Xbox very much felt like Dreamcast's spiritual successor, the Dreamcast 2, the continuation.
Yeah, I mean, when it was actually announced, I think it was announced at Tokyo Game Show in 2001, and Sega went up to basically say they were making these 11 titles exclusively for Xbox with Microsoft, whoever was in charge at the time. So it was very much like, okay, the Dreamcast is done, and all the Dreamcast fans, we were like a wandering people in search of new land or something, and Xbox was kind of like almost like pitching to us like, guys, come over here. We got you.
It's
all
nice,
your
guys.
games are gonna be all your games are gonna be over here on the original Xbox.
And we got
that
snacks.
was actually, well, it was a nice feeling actually, because it was like, you know what, I don't feel like Microsoft have wronged me. Like, going to Sony and going to Nintendo, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like they were still the enemy to me, and it was like, Microsoft, like in console terms, had done no wrong. Yeah, obviously by Xbox One things changed a little bit, but it was, I was happy to go there, and also it was nice for actually Sega to have the most grunt behind them in terms of raw horsepower for a console for a change. So.
I know, like jumped on that one, didn't they? Now I'll tell you what. Before we get too far in, let's just give a little teaser of where we're going to go with the rest of it, because I think we'll feature a bit of that. But Jet Set Radio Future, I guess things we'll cover will be, let's talk a bit about Jet Set as a franchise and what it is and that sort of stuff. I think it's probably worth getting into what makes it unique, because I mean it's one of the things that jumps out about the game. It's such a of its own kind game. It's got, it's unique. So we'll
nothing quite like it,
and nothing quite like this jumper either. So I'm feeling at home, and they burn the designs. We're playing Future. I don't think we can get through this whole thing without talking about the original as well. There's nice. God, that was prompt. That was so slick.
For those listening on audio, Dibs just showed the original game on the Xbox. On the Dreamcast, I messed it up. Okay, no more audio annotations.
I also love the way, like we talked about trying to remember to mention things for the people listening on the podcast. But I like the way you've brought a voice to it as well.
Oh, I know, yeah.
For those listening on the podcast, Dibs is doing a sexy voice. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can do it actually really well.
Thanks. You're a little bit too into it. That's cool.
Dude, what are you trying to paint me as today? Me.
Listen, it's all coming from you. But so a bit of comparison of the two. I think just sort of talking about where they changed. We've got to talk about Smile Bit as well. So we've got to talk devs, got to talk Smile Bit. There's interesting history, there's interesting things where they like what they did, where they went, that sort of stuff, and I guess where we were starting out there talking about that period of going onto Xbox. I mean, Smile Bit were a real big chunk of that, real big part of that. And of course, we said before the sort of loose connection that our vaguely old man frazzled brains threw these games together was this new era, new energy. So we'll go in a little bit into that as well. But all of that to come, and probably some more filthy suggestions for Dibs' new career as well, because we've had 3 in 5 minutes. I think we can expect more. Let's start though with what is it? I mean, I love doing this because I get to kind of do the intro. I get to like toss up these hard questions and then chuck them over to you. So go for your life, mate. You try and describe this sucker.
Oh man, wow. Okay, so it is it's a skating kind of game with tagging, like as in graffiti, and basically you're part of a gang, you're kind of going around these cities, kind of like, tagging over other gangs, kind of graffiti. It's like a lot of grinding rails and stuff like that. I mean, I suppose like around this time we'd had like the Tony Hawk kind of stuff all going on, wasn't it? So, people were down with that kind of whole rail grinding and, half pipes and all that sort of stuff. So this was kind of almost taking it to the next level. And it, had this story with like all these cool characters. So you're in these gangs, these different gangs. So you're a part of the GGs and, very unique characters, lots of kind of different kind of styles and things, and the music played a real big part of it. That was like quite a significant thing. Like a lot of people like talk about the music a lot with this particular game, and that's my kind of all-encompassing overview. Did that
it.
paint any kind of picture?
It painted a picture for me, but then I've played the game. If you've never played the game, who knows what you just imagined? But no, I thought it was really good. I do think you mentioned unique a few times. God, yes. I mean, that's in there. I think the Tony Hawk's reference is actually really handy as well, because obviously, like this is not exclusively a skating game, because there are other dynamics to it, but there's definitely a part of it. You know, the grinding of the rails is like a big part of the fun. It's it's probably my favourite part of it in the game too. And linking the grinds and kind of doing tricks and stuff, that's all in there. And I think it is a fair comparison. I did read an interview with the director actually, and he claimed he'd never played Tony Hawk's, and I did think, mate, come on, you've had a little go at Tony Hawk's.
You've had a cheeky go,
You've had a cheeky waggle of the joypad, I should add, onto the end. So, but yeah, a bit of Tony Hawk's in the grinding. Like we'll kind of get into it, but obviously the graffitiing is still a big part of Future. It's one of the chief ways of completing the level. So essentially, I guess the levels break down into, let's see if I can catch all of this. Finding the points to graffiti. There are some bonus items to find. Generally, in the levels, you'll get I suppose you call it a boss fight. I suppose there's an interim boss fight and a boss fight. So there'll be a section where you get the police turn up, there's some harder characters, you have to either tag them or tag their tanks or tag something to basically defeat them. And then usually at the end of the level, you'll get one of the rival gangs turn up and you have to mimic their moves to drive them off your turf. And at other points in the game, you mimic the moves of your friends to kind of get them to join your gang. So there's a bit of following them and copying what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's all true, isn't it? Right. So
I mean, like I think on the level when you go into 99th Street, it's got the big dragon in the middle. You have to, what was it? You had to get to certain like flyers or something before they did and collect up the most before they kind of get them, and then you kind of win. So there's kind of like variations to it all, but it's basically a showdown with a rival gang.
Yeah, you're right. They do vary it, don't they? Because I think some are races, some are copying their moves, some are just like copying bits of grinding or jumping around that they've done and stuff. I mean, it sounds a bit random, and it is a bit random. It's but it's kind of hangs together in the game. But like as a concept, it obviously wasn't a new concept when Jet Set Radio Future came out, but when it came out on the Dreamcast, the original Jet Set Radio or Jet Grind Radio, like oh my god, it was so fresh, wasn't it? Like there was nothing like it. It was so standout, so different. I mean, what are the things you remember about that coming out? I suppose the question is, what made it so unique? You know, we were kind of, that's where we always go, but let's just try and capture what is it that made that game so unique.
The first thing that kind of caught my eye was just like the graphical style, the cel-shaded graphics, because it's like, and I was trying to remember earlier which one came first, either this or Fear Effect on the PS1, but like a lot of people kind of attribute the cel-shaded look being first in this game, don't they? And it's like, you know, when you read stuff like from the developers, they were kind of playing around with graphic styles and they kind of came up with the cel shaded look. So, you know, which one came first? Because I think they kind of came around the same kind of time, the original Fear Effect and Jet Set Radio 1, wasn't it? Was it around I can't quite remember.
I looked up dates and they kind of basically, if you look at enough websites, you can give it yourself either. I think Jet Set Radio was first, but I mean, that was the first time that I really kind of thought, like, you know, oh, that's like a really cool style. That's quite unique. I've not really seen that before. But like, you know, I was much more in the Sega camp than the PlayStation camp. So I was much more into the news with them. But it was like not just that whole appearance, but also like, you know, all the kind of like the grinding and the tagging and all that stuff, because it was like the whole thing, wasn't it, going on like at the time, like, you know, you had all the punk bands, like, you know, the Blink 182s all around at that sort of time, and you know, they kind of did go a bit hand in hand with the, you know, there was an element of tagging and stuff like that with that movement, I think, wasn't there, to some extent. And it was like it was the zeitgeist, wasn't it? It just felt, even if like the actual mechanics of the game weren't necessarily things people were doing in real life, the ideas of it, that kind of street culture, that yeah, that tagging,
Yeah.
that the freshness of it. I don't know. Loads
Yeah,
of bits
it was just-
echoed how things felt.
That was it, and it made it like seem very appealing to, you know, because we were right in that age bracket, weren't we? We was like late teens or whatever
those were the
and
days.
stuff. And I know, so we were right there with all that kind of stuff going on, and it's like, oh, this game looks like really cool. I nearly went really youth then and called it, and was going to say this looks really sick, but. It's best avoid that.
I can tell you how that would have landed. I was watching Bake Off last week. This is how times have changed. You know, back in our teens, it was all Blink 182 and what have you. Now it's Bake Off. But one of the contestants in Bake Off last week did describe his bake as sick. And I thought,
really?
Yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he's 20.
I was gonna say,
so,
in a baking show, you could go either way, I suppose. But
it's not a good look. But I think
not.
I just wanted to, I suppose, to add on the cell shading. And cell shading just looked amazing. And the great thing is, it looks amazing. I mean, obviously, we'll come back to more recent games that have done it. But if you pick up the game now, the Xbox or Dreamcast version, it just looks great. It doesn't look like
really
it's
does.
aged a day. The Dreamcast one, you do randomly get a few jaggies and stuff around the like character like profiles and stuff. So you know you can pick bits out. But style wise, it still just looks so good. And this,
It really, it's amazing.
and the thing was like that the Dreamcast itself, you had what was really a kind of dark and sludgy era with Saturn and PlayStation and N64 that, you know, when they were doing 3D, it tended to go dark, didn't it? You know, even like obviously Sega themselves loved a bit of blue skies, but a lot of the other developers' 3D games would go dark. The graphics would look sludgy and dirty and stuff. So when the Dreamcast came out with its like really high polygon count, everything was bright and vibrant, and especially the Sega games.
Good resolution compared to the previous generation.
Amazing resolution, and oh
Yeah.
my god, I just got a quick tangent, but now I've got Dreamcast on VGA going out into the telly. I swear to God, it looks like proper HD. It's amazing. Anyway,
It's really good.
but yeah, you know, that leap. It was something that Jet Set Radio rode, wasn't it? You know, you got cell shading, really bright and vibrant game, plus cell shading, plus the console just looked amazing. It just was such a mind-blowing thing to see. You know, you just couldn't imagine Jet Set Radio even getting close to something like Jet Set Radio on any of the previous generation. It just looks so modern. So
yeah, and that was the thing, like in the magazines, like I say, it was like it like jumped off the page to you.
Yeah.
You're like looking at this thing like, whoa, like this looks so cool, and you're reading about all the stuff that's in the game, and it's just like, yep, this is well on the radar here.
Yeah. So a moment just to reflect. I just love the way Dreamcast does graphics. There's something about this that's become so timeless because it just has that unique style. I really like, probably for similar reasons, really love GameCube graphics as well. But I just think PlayStation 2, Xbox, I mean, they did amazing stuff, but I don't know. I didn't feel like there wasn't. I mean, we'll have this argument another day, but it just didn't feel like a huge leap after Dreamcast because Dreamcast just had that vibrancy and colour to everything. So
right, yeah. No, with the PS2, I definitely felt like that. The Xbox was significantly more powerful than the other machines, though, and it did a, you know, like I remember there was a game, I think it was called Reckless, the Yakuza missions or something, and it was like, you know, very, very impressive. I think I got that one with the machine, and you know, you could really see the Xbox flexing a little bit with that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it did come on PS2 as well and GameCube actually, but it was much more cut down. And
But you know what I mean?
no, I know what
like,
you mean.
Even though it had that
The blow
power,
was lessened.
Yeah, but even though it had that power, because Dreamcast just looks so happy in itself. You know, the previous generation, even PlayStation, but definitely Saturn, they always looked like they were struggling. But Dreamcast just looked, it was so like on top of its graphics and the colour and vibrancy. That sort of, I don't know, it just meant that even though, say, Xbox had that massive leap power-wise, you just didn't feel it so much. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent.
It was lessened. Yeah. Tangents are always good.
I don't know why I'm calling out that we're going off on a tangent. It's just like, you know, the thing you do.
They can hear it.
Yeah, they're sitting there, head in hands, going,
They're
"Here
like,
we
"Oh
go
my
again."
God, shut up, will you?
What was this? A Jet Set Radio Future podcast? Oh,
Yeah.
what's a podcast? Oh. So but other things I guess that made it different was the fact that it was about rollerblading, or what was it, like energy powered rollerblading or something, wasn't it? And that's, has there been another rollerblading game? I can't
Rollerblade, probably. I think there was a Barbie one, wasn't there? Malibu Barbie, something, I don't know. So
I want to play that.
I'm sure I've seen my kids playing something like that, but
I mean,
it ain't quite in the same realm here.
You got to throw in handling as well, because I guess the thing was, we're still, no, I wouldn't say we're early in 3D, but 3D was still finding its feet. I mean, bearing in mind on the original one, you still had the single analog stick and you weren't looking around. On Future,
yeah, there was always a
right. So,
yeah, no, the camera was always still a bit of a thing, wasn't it? So,
but it's like its ways of exploring, it's like felt really different. So, but like Tony Hawk's again, I suppose the fact you're on skates means the controls, it handles very strangely, I guess you'd say, compared to like a game where you're running about, because you can't just turn, you can't just change direction, you got to go with the skates. So the handling was something really unique about it. I guess, yeah, the way you win, the things you had to do to win the level, that it wasn't about punching people or shooting people, you were tagging them or tagging the street up. I'm conscious in this, I'm talking a lot kind of more about original Jet Set Radio, but all this stuff applies to Future as well. But,
it's all, it all ties in, doesn't it? Yeah.
But maybe the big one, after cel-shaded graphics, it's got to be the music, right? I mean, this.
Yeah, without question. Yeah, that's a real big one. So, I mean, like there's like I watched a documentary and there was like a whole big section on it, and about how it's like took the influences from, and again, I'm talking into areas that I don't really know anything about, because we grew up very rock orientated, we were very grunge, weren't we, and all that sort of stuff. So,
and plus you're an old man now. You're gonna sound like, oh, what are the kids listening to, Debs? Tell us all about it.
No, but so apparently like it incorporated elements of hip hop / urban, funk and breakbeat, whatever that may be. So but there's some interesting nods to certain things, like I was just saying earlier, like with the cassettes that you find around the game in Jet Set Radio Future. Apparently that was a nod to the fact that in the early days of the kind of hip hop / urban kind of scene, it's like you couldn't go into the shops and pick up all the artists that were kind of emerging, but tapes got like passed around the people in the various cities. So it's kind of like getting a hold of a tape, and the way you add music to the repertoire basically in the game, you have to kind of, it's a collectible, so you find secret tapes hidden around the place, and I thought that was quite an interesting little thing, like
I like
a way
that.
it's a nice nod to that kind of whole thing. But the sound, so it was Hideki Naganuma, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so he did quite a few of the tracks, but also the big name in Sega games, Richard Jacques of Sonic R fame, did arrangements in Outrun 2, and did Metropolis Street Racer. Very popular Sega guy, if you ever read UK Resistance back in the day. So they put together the soundtrack, and very impressive it was as well. Like most people know Concept of Love.
I definitely know it, because I'm sitting here singing it in my head. Like it's literally just going round and round and round as we're talking.
Really,
it's like,
I got the same thing right now.
I don't know what's more aggressive than an earworm. It's more like an ear snake or something. It's so like it's just
ear anaconda.
An ear animal. Yeah. I mean, Richard Jacques is an interesting one, isn't he? Because like, when we were first talking about this, it's a name but I was saying to you, I couldn't immediately put my finger on other stuff I knew he'd done. And one of the things is like I'd say I've not played a lot of, and I'm not a massive fan of Sonic R. So I kind of like, it's maybe that would be the main thing. But I was looking at other stuff he'd done, because he's a fascinating guy. So he's done loads of games, obviously, and the stuff we know. But his career does really stretch off into some super high profile, like normal composer work. But I don't know what I'm talking about, but other composer work. So he's worked with like big brands, like doing ad campaigns for Audi and Bacardi and Mercedes, stuff like that. But things that are very non-game, you wouldn't expect game music people
stuff
to turn
pay,
up on.
Pay the bills for that, that's for sure.
Respectable stuff. Anyway, you know what I mean. But like, what were we saying before? But he's also done TV. He's apparently done movies as well, but I didn't know what any of those were. But here's two gems for you, because the TV he's done, he did the theme music for 15 to 1. Do you ever see that? I think it was Channel 4. It's like a daytime game show.
Okay, yeah. I'm not too down with TV that much, but yeah, I kind of guess there would be a game show.
There were 15 people on it, and I think it all took place in the what I'm talking
I know the weather with Lucy Verasamy. Did he do the music for that? I don't know. I mean, maybe we could put a little picture on the screen right now. You know what I'm saying?
Did I ever tell you that at some point, for some reason, I put in my phone your profile picture as Lucy Verasamy? So whenever like you phone me or text me, it pops up the picture of her. Let's just say I'm a bit more into your phone calls than I should be.
I was going to say, you did sound very enthusiastic late at night. But...
Why, Lucy, hello. But the other one he did was, I presume this is a reworking, but he also has done the modern day theme tune for Catchphrase. So apparently from like who's that guy that's on it now? Like
Mulhern. Stephen Mulhern.
Mulhern.
I saw him in Panto one time. He was throwing sweets up and catching them in his mouth, and he messed it up twice before he got one. Kind of took the edge off of it a bit. It's like, this is just a bit boring now.
I'm so glad we stopped doing all the tangents. You know what I mean? It's like, but I do think that's. I used to hate Stephen Mulhern with a real passion, but he's kind of grown on me, to be honest. I just think he's just gone about his business for 20 years or however long.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, hasn't he, actually?
He's earned his right to present Catchphrase on a Saturday evening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll give him a pass. He could have missed another one of those catches in his mouth, and I'd be like, you know what? That's okay.
Nice. So, that pretty much sums up his career.
Yeah.
Accidentally muted my. So the music's huge, and I gotta say, I thought I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit talking about comparisons. I guess we'll go into comparisons next, but I thought the music is cracking on Future. It's really good. It's really big and brash and inventive and stuff. I did think it worked better on the original, and I need to kind of dive forwards a little bit to explain why. Because the original levels were just tighter. Smaller, tighter, and we'll come back to that theme. But the music itself is great in maybe like 4 or 5 minute doses. But some of the tracks, they do like to loop. They do like to kind of really get in your head. And I'm hearing now, that song around my head. And it's because the Xbox levels are bigger. I did at one point where I got really stuck, like trying to like nail some bit where I had to like grind along a really long stretch and then get the timer jump properly, and just couldn't get it. So I was listening to the same track for a long time. I was thinking, this wouldn't happen on the Dreamcast one. We'd have been done by now and we'd have been off. So, and just, it's great. I'm not trying to undermine it, but if you hear it for too long, it's just Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I did have a moment where I was like, because like we were talking earlier, one of my gripes with this game is that I get lost all the time. It's like I'm always like, I've had many moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And then I'm kind of looking around, and at that point, like that's when the music started to grate on me a touch. Like, and I kind of had to take my headphones off at one point because I was playing on my monitor and stuff, and it was just like, But once I found my way again, the headphones went back on it. But it's just, I just had a brief moment where I was like, this looping around. I don't want to hear it again for the minute, just till I know what I'm doing, and then I can get the feel of the game back again, because it's like the being lost thing happened to me way too much, and I'm sure it was completely my fault, like my old man brain. I'm not listening properly, I'm daydreaming, but it's like after they've told you where you're supposed to go, I couldn't then find any references anywhere to then point me to where I was supposed to go, and that was like that was kind of my biggest like irritation, I suppose, with the game. It's like I just needed to know the game better, and then if I played it through knowing where I'm going, I expect it would feel tighter as well. Because
do you know what, that is actually true? Because did I tell you, like, I was playing it in the first few days we were playing for this round, and it was quite late at night, and I got like these Alexa commands set up, and I told her to turn something off, and she turned everything off, including the Xbox. And I played. I was right at the end of like level 2 or 3, so I had to replay it. And I've got to say, it was way more fun the second time around, because I was just going straight to places. I was I got to know the levels a bit more, I was kind of linking together bits of grinding you can do, so I wasn't kind of having to walk at a ploddy pace and stuff. It was actually way better. It was really surprising, because you'd kind of think, because the levels are quite simple, that repeating them would be a bit there. But it was good. But so maybe.
Definitely. I think I would enjoy it like on a second playthrough, because I mean, like, I have played it before, like I never beat it back in the day or anything, but it's like I did play it, but that was literally like 20 years ago or something, probably more. And it's like, I can't remember what I'm doing, so it is like starting afresh. So I was literally like plodding through levels a lot of the time. But
yeah, I had that a little bit. I mean, we kind of got to like expand on that a little bit, because the levels in future are noticeably bigger than the levels in Jet Set Radio and the Dreamcast. And like the first few levels on the Dreamcast one are actually tiny little sandbox levels, and they do get bigger and a bit more exploratory. And obviously, some of the levels are reimagined and expanded between the two, and so you can see where they've got bigger. I think the thing with Future was it's great to have the extra space and to be able to sort of do a bit more exploration, but I didn't feel like they linked. I didn't feel like it made enough of all the spaces. So there were bits where you literally just have to get through them, and there's not really anything fun to do in that bit. You just sort of have to explore, and it just felt a bit loose. Do you know what I mean? It didn't feel like.
I think compared to the first one, it does feel a little loose. Like the first one feels very focused. I never felt like really lost or confused in the first one of like where I was going or what I was doing or what what the objective was. But in this one, I had many instances of that, and like I say, maybe it's my old man brain, but it definitely happened on more than a couple of occasions. So,
well, you remember the first one was so slick. I mean, both games are really slick. They're very cool. Like, they do have a really good vibe. They're constant. Like, this music's playing all the time. There's like it's good. The stages are well edited together and stuff. But the first one was quick about it. You'd get Professor Gale, DJ Professor Gale, whatever he's called, like coming on the radio. He'd give his chat, and it would sort of last maybe like 30 seconds or something, and then you'd be into the level. You'd have a little bit of stuff from one of the characters telling you what to do or whatever, but then you were into
bit of bants,
but you were into it. I did notice either the first time he comes on or maybe every time he comes on, but in the future, like, DJ Professor K goes on. Like, it really goes on. And I'm like,
stop banging on, Professor.
Come on. If this was a proper radio program, I'd switch to Radio 2 by now. Dude, come on. He was just, it's like kind of like a lot of sequels. I know this isn't a proper sequel, I'll come back to that, but like a lot of sequels, they just wanted to make everything bigger. And I don't think they necessarily took the tightness with them as they made it bigger. So
bigger is not necessarily better. Sometimes less is
that
more.
Girlfriend? Yeah. And
right in your corner there for you.
I was going to go down that route. Let's not gonna. But yeah, flabby. One might even say flabby about the game, not me. Just so. Right. But I did. I did read a couple of reviews of Future, and they picked up on the same thing. One of the things that also came out, and I definitely saw this, was the first game was very cool, and it was like consciously cool, and it was very slickly edited and directed. The second game tries to do that, but sometimes it's at the expense of just a good game. So I was thinking when you were saying about I don't know where to go, it really felt like, they just wanted to, everything had to be explained in their kind of, the characterized way, which is fine, and it worked in the first game. For some reason it didn't work in this one, and you know, it almost feels like they were too cool to put in directions of where to go next.
Okay.
And I'm kicking myself because one of the things as old men we complain about is these young whippersnappers who want to be told what to do all the time, and it's like hand-holding games and how I hate that and stuff. But I don't want to be told what to do as long as while I'm finding out I'm having fun. And I guess at times in future I was just wandering about going, this feels aimless. I just feel like
okay.
Anyway, but like I say, play it through the second time, and that does tighten up a bit. So
yeah, and I think that's the thing. I mean, it is. I suppose like that is one of the old school ways, isn't it, about the learning the game? I suppose, and I mean, this is you know, maybe moved on slightly since the Mega Drive and the SNES days, where it was like, you know, you had to memorize boss patterns and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I definitely think I would enjoy it more, knowing what to do and being more, you know, less wasteful with my time, I suppose. But like I say, I probably don't even think maybe that's the game's fault. It's probably me more than anything.
Well, I was going to say, you know, one feature of this doing the book club is, you know, with family life and everything, I'm only ever playing these games after like late night, sort of 10, 11 o'clock, past midnight a lot of the time. And it's like, you know, I'm shoehorning the game time in after everything else has happened. I'm probably completely knackered. That's not fair on the game. I'm sorry, game. It's not.
Yeah, that is the thing. It's not quite the same as when we were youths, is it? But you know, but it's still good. Like, you know, when a good game grabs you, sometimes it blows the sleep away. You know, and you know, it's just, and then you can't sleep till about 4 a.m. or something because you're so hyped or something. But...
Oh man, when I was playing Rebirth early in the year, partly because there were just massive long sections, but yeah, that was like 2-3 in the morning almost every time, because you just get into a mission and then you were off. But yeah, too easy to do. But the thing is interesting about Future compared to the first one is it hasn't necessarily got more complicated. So although bits have got bigger or like flabbier or whatever, you know, and I suppose the plot is a bit more involved. But actually, the gameplay is not. The gameplay they've simplified, if anything, haven't they? So, like... Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think what actually I found is the gameplay was a little more simplified. Like it was definitely a lot more generous when you were jumping onto rails and stuff like that. You know, you click on it from a lot further away. It's like they kind of expanded that kind of hitbox, like, for want of a better word, so that when you were grinding between rails, it was being very, very kind to you. But I quite like the way they expanded the kind of complexity of the actual level designs. That was the thing I sort of found. You know, that they kind of have pushed on a bit, so they kind of made it easier to play in terms of your character, but like, you know, there was a lot more kind of going on, like grinding up to the top of like the big old dragons and stuff like that, and like later on there's some very cool levels, like where you're going over the top of these skyscrapers, like I think it's actually called the skyscraper district or something like that, and then you kind of having to grind on the signs and all that stuff. Like it's like, you know, you can fool many a time, and I did. But it was it kind of felt like it pushed on a little in that direction.
I think that's true, and I feel like they had to simplify some of the dynamics, like, you know, what it takes to wall grind, what it takes to click onto the rails and stuff, in order to get away with some of those. Bearing in mind, you still did fall a lot, but like to get away with that, they had to simplify it, I think, and like, which is fair enough. But it's one of the big simplifications, though, I guess, is the graffiti. I mean, the tagging stuff is still a core mechanic. It's still the way you complete the levels, or one of the ways to complete levels. But it's actually a massive change. So I was playing the original, and obviously there are some things that you slide past on a rail and you can tag just straight away. So to explain first off, for those who haven't played them recently, in the original game, like, you'll tag by pressing the trigger button, but a lot of the graffiti you have to go up to it, like tag it, and then complete like movements on the analog stick. So like do a 360 rotation or a 180 rotation or an up down or something, and follow a rhythm, a bit kind of like a rhythm game, you know. It's like but sort of not necessarily to the rhythm, but you know what I mean. It's kind of follow a pattern. And and often that would be mimicked by what your character's doing on screen and stuff. And then in future, none of that. You're literally just going past it and pressing the trigger, and they spray the graffiti. And I missed it, to be honest, because
I did.
I really because it sounds silly because like the mechanic is so simple. Like what I just described, like it's like a lot of that rhythm game stuff. It is just like follow the leader stuff. It's rotate. But because it was really well synchronized to the game, and because it still happened very quickly. It's like skate up, quick, and then skate away again. And obviously you get ranked on how quick you do stuff and that. But it was satisfying, simple but satisfying.
Yeah, it just felt like it was a core part of how it worked. And when I did the first level, and it's like, well, hang on, I haven't had to do the thumbstick thing once, and it's like what's going on? It's like I fear change.
I just thought the thing was they could have still had like plenty of bits where you just, because back to what you said about the complex levels, like skyscraper levels and stuff. Well, you could have still had simple tagging for those, but then also mixed in, because the original game did that, mixed it up. But it kind of goes with the other change, because in the original, certainly I didn't play it through, I just played a few of the levels, so maybe I can't remember if it changes, but the cops are coming at you in the level, so you're like going around trying to complete your tags, and the cops are after you and chasing you, so you're simultaneously trying to balance, can I complete my graffiti pattern before the cops get around to my level? So you have to kind of lead them off to another bit of the level, quickly skate over to where you got a tag, do the graffiti thing before they get back to you and stuff. And in this game, like the cops are sort of segmented, aren't they? It's like you do a bit where you do the tagging, then there's some cop stuff, and then there's some tagging, And I felt
and
those
then
two
electric
things are
fences are very annoying.
Oh man,
I didn't like the electric fences. It's like, oh man, I'm hitting the fence again. It's taking my energy. I'm trying to fight these cops and stuff.
The first time I hit an electric fence, because I didn't know it was there, I was insulted. It was a personal affront. It did. I think it was necessary because they'd made the big stages and they needed to condense the action. But it was also
you in.
a bit, I don't know, bit cheap. It was a bit annoying because it was just
like,
it
was not my favourite part of it, but it was all part of it, I suppose.
And the dash is gone as well, right? So, or it changed, I suppose you should say, because
they gave them a boost instead. That like you burned up 10 cans, didn't you? So,
yeah.
I mean, and when you kind of look to 30 cans, it's like that's actually quite a significant amount to lose all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I did find a lot of the time I wanted the boost was when I didn't have the cans. It was like sections where you kind of were meandering about and you were like, oh, I just want to get back to the action, and then you'd want to boost a few times, but that was because you weren't in the action. There also weren't any cans. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why they kind of like wanted that kind of new boosting featuring, because it was quite good for the exploration, like getting to places that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to get to and stuff. So it did kind of push the gameplay on and that, but it was just maybe 5 cans would have been a bit more reasonable, I'd say.
I think you nailed it, because I liked it. I thought it was a good addition, but I kind of wish it had been an addition rather than a replacement, because it was quite helpful just every so often, even just to mix up the gameplay, to do your little kind of boosty skate thing, so that you could like grind a bit further or a bit or do a bigger jump, whatever. It would be good to have both. Actually, that reminds me, like the physics are different as well, aren't they? Like you can get away with a hell of a lot on Future. So like say when you're like going upstairs or up a rail. On the original, you needed quite a lot of momentum to get up stuff, and like on Future, it's generous, isn't it?
And you can kind of boost yourself by hitting the yellow button. What is it on Xbox? Y or something?
Yeah,
I think it is. And you do the flip round thing, and you can kind of get a bit of a boost in your momentum, and you're kind of going up like a rail or something, one of those coiled rails or something. But I don't know. Actually, one thing I did like just to reference the cities again, like was like how I mean, you could see they were using the extra polygons like that the exports had, like they were super detailed. But one of the other things that I really liked was how busy the cities were. Like there was a lot more cars and a lot more people around. It like felt like a busy city, and that was quite a nice touch. I thought it kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
that it was. I know they had it to some extent in the Dreamcast one, but again, the Xbox afforded them the extra power to put a lot more characters and things moving on screen, didn't
Yeah, a lot more. They felt a lot more interactive, didn't they? I remember reading an interview with one of the devs early on in Future's development, making a big thing about how the pedestrians jump out the way and get shocked and stuff in Future, and they do. Well done.
Yeah.
They delivered that bit, but it makes a difference, doesn't it? Like when the environment feels a bit more real, and certainly in those big maps, you need that stuff to kind of make them interesting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would just be too empty.
And actually, you know what's just crossed my mind? The grab in the back of the cars thing.
I was literally about to say that. Yeah,
I didn't do that in Future.
Yeah.
It's like, is it in the game?
I don't think it is, because the couple of times where I'd come near to it, I just took damage, and so
yeah. I mean, just suddenly thought.
Because I probably played through Future for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours and stuff, and then went back to try Dreamcast again. And obviously, I didn't have a save game, so I was starting from scratch. And one of the first things it teaches you is
isn't it? It's very early.
Lock onto the back of a car, and although it could have done with being a bit nippier on the Dreamcast one, like it was still a cool thing to do, and it was just like mixed it up, and I did think, man, with the Xbox's grunt, they could have had like real kind of sections on that, you know, where cars are whipping past, you've got to grab one, it's like a high-speed chase bit, or
do the old Marty McFly thing where you swap to the next one going down that turning or something. But yeah, I don't know. No, I didn't the whole time I was playing it, I didn't even think of that actually until it just went through my mind.
Which maybe shows they weren't massively missing it, I guess. It's
probably.
But there were plenty of sections where the cars kind of were driving past. Yeah, just would have been a nice touch, because they even could have added on like people on bikes or other skaters and stuff that you could have latched onto. Just stuff to help you get around the levels a bit quicker would have maybe the weapon. Yeah. So
right. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's those. Obviously, some of the characters are different as well between the two. Like new characters that come into the Future. Core characters, I think they're the same, aren't they? Your core 3 are the same.
Yeah, Beat
and
and Gum.
Yeah.
Yo-Yo.
Is that the other one?
Yo-Yo, right? Yeah.
And the DJ. The main cop's different, isn't he? I can't remember the name of him in
he's
the original
kind of more. He kind of looks a bit more like, I don't know, like the Penguin. He kind of looks a bit like a dishevelled version of him with more stubble and stuff in the first.
Wait,
one.
what? In the first?
Yeah. In Future, he's like this thinner kind of guy, isn't he?
Yeah. You know, these are two terrible comparisons, but I was thought in the first one, Columbo, because he's got that big Mac.
Yes,
you know, like...
that's better. That's better than what I said.
I'm actually amazed by the Penguin.
It's just because he's like a small, dumpy kind of dude, you know.
Dumpy,
that's kind of. I meant more in stature than anything. So.
Oh no, I get it now. And this is a terrible comparison, but he really reminded me of Ray Fiennes as I want to say Sephiroth as Voldemort in Harry Potter, because he's kind of tall and thin and a bit like pale and stuff, isn't he?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But, yeah, he's a bit evil. So, and that guy, oh god, what's the actual name of the character? I'm gonna have to look down on my notes. Goji Rikaku.
Oh yeah.
There's police officer. So he appears. So you know, some of the devs from Smilebit then like went on to join the studio that made the Yakuza games. They worked on that. I think it's the first Yakuza on the PS2, and so that Goji Rikaku appears as a character in a side mission in that Yakuza game, and an excellently titled side mission called Crisis on the Crapper.
Oh really? That is pure word poetry.
That's where it does actually make you think, doesn't it, when you read stuff like that? Like, I wonder what that was called in Japanese. Because I mean, it's like a really Japanese game, so obviously maybe the localization team just went nuts, and it was maybe it's called something really serious in Japanese, and they're like,
they just went rogue and was like, whack that in there, whatevs.
Actually, that's a big feature of this game. I never kind of really thought that much of at the time. I don't remember thinking of, but you read interviews about Future and the original. And the devs are very proud of making a game that is about Japanese culture. You know, it's Tokyo To, obviously like mimics and echoes parts of real Tokyo and very like stylized versions of it. But I swear there are bits on Future not really in the first game, but there are bits on Future where I was like going around going, oh, like this is totally like that bit, you know, like there's a couple of really famous streets in Tokyo that, and I was like, wow, that is definitely like an echo of that. And it was kind of, remembered sort of doing it on Metropolis Street Racer when you were going around bits of London and stuff, and you're like, oh there's that bit. It's really cool. But they were really proud of it, and you know, I don't know how much the actual street gangs and stuff are part of Tokyo culture, but the feel of it in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, they were really proud of capturing and stuff. And and it's interesting that then Yakuza, it sort of then carries that on, I suppose you could say. Like, remember the developer of the Yakuza game actually said he styled the main character on him, and that like I read an interview with him and he was saying, oh yeah, he styled on me, and then the interviewer was like, wait, but isn't he like really into like guns and crime and women and drinking? And he went, yep, they're the things I'm into. And I'm like, okay, nice.
That's his jam, huh?
Yeah,
fair enough.
I think there was some story that on the US release of Future, they've added some cities, I think, like added a couple of stages based in American cities. I haven't played them, so I can't. Oh,
really?
And apparently the devs were not happy about it because it was like, you know, they were very much, this is a game about how cool Tokyo and Japanese culture is.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to add these American places on it. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. I see. Yeah. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
But yeah, fair play, and that's true. It's like, so it feels very Japanese in the it does, approach. Yeah. And I love it. You know, so
yeah, for sure,
cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, actually, did you played it on the original Xbox, didn't you? Because I've been playing it on the 360, so it's like, you know, they use that emulation kind of thing to make the disc work, don't they? And one thing that I found was that it wasn't quite up to scratch actually. So although the game's run, it has some quite bad slowdown at points, and I was just wondering how it ran on the original Xbox. Is it just like pretty smooth like the whole time? Because I did originally play it on the Xbox, and I don't remember there being any issues. But like the bit where you're heading on 99th Street, it's like it's literally slow motion like through there, and it's like that's the worst bit that I encountered. But like, you know, when you're going through some of the streets and stuff like that and some of the crowded sections, it's definitely not running right.
No, I thought it was completely smooth on the original. I think
that's what I thought. It
must be the emulation, and actually it felt quick as well. The load times are pretty low, and you know, everything zipped along. I'm glad the load times are low because both games do that kind of static radio effect when it's loading. But the one on Future, it's like a really painful, horrible noise.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm glad it loads quickly because no, it's smooth as anything, and I do think even though there's bits of we were saying before, there's bits of the gameplay where I feel like if the director took another pass at it, they could have tightened a lot of stuff up. It feels like there are elements that felt like that they could have made better. So I don't think it feels rushed, but maybe that's an element. I never heard it was rushed, but it's definitely true to say that like the graphics and the look and everything else looks really polished. You know, that all the kind of production values still seem really high. And actually,
I mean, that's what.
Go on.
No, sorry, I was just going to say that's one of the things when I first saw it in motion, I was really like, wow, that looks good. It looks like, you know, they've taken the original one and just like thrown everything at it, and it's just like I was saying earlier, like the polygon count, like for the Xbox, they were not letting one get away, were they? I don't think so.
But it's you know, it is worth going and playing it back on the original because you really. It doesn't slow down. It's really smooth. The frame rate's excellent, and
I wish I did.
Yeah, I think you are you've you are missing a bit if you're getting that
Yeah,
slowdown.
I think it would be a much more comfortable experience on the original. Like, but I didn't know, like, I didn't really read beforehand, like, that it had a few issues. It was just like, oh, it works on the Xbox 360, and I've got that set up right here. So
Yeah.
like, that's how I started, and then I'd done too much to then restart it. So yeah.
Weirdly, I was actually the other way around because, like, I played a few levels, and was I moaning to you about it, saying it feels like my Xbox is a bit like dark or glum looking on the telly, like nothing
you
to do with
did,
the
yeah.
game. It's like it seems to be the machine. It might just be that the Dreamcast is so bright and vibrant through the VGA or something, but
Right,
anyway, it's
yeah.
going off to be fixed next week anyway, so hopefully.
I think I think the original Xbox, you can get a VGA cable for it, can't you?
Interesting. I
I
mean,
think that was one of the ones that did it. I
it's-
don't quote me on that, but
it is outputting on, like, I'm not going to go into it, but it's it's got all the posh wires and stuff. It should be fine.
yeah,
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Someone will tell us we're wrong in the comments. So.
I did say to the guys, because the Xbox is going in to have a couple of mods, and like the capacitors, the clock capacitor stuff needs fixing, all that.
Yeah.
And I did say to him and said, like, oh, I think it's this. I think it might be the capacitors and blah. And he very politely came back, basically saying, "No, I've never heard of that issue. I'm not sure. I'll look into
Very
it."
polite gentleman, huh? It's like, oh,
In other
idiot,
words, saying,
shut your
"Who's
trap."
this schmo? Doesn't know what the hell he's
Yeah.
talking about."
Oh, he's telling me. He's telling me.
So we've mentioned them a few times. I think we got to like go a little bit into Smilebit and the developers of this. So the core of the original game came back for the sequel. Obviously they added to their number, but you had I'm gonna look now, make sure I get his first name. Masayoshi Kikuchi as director, Ryuta Ueda as art director, and then you mentioned before Hideki Naganuma for the music, and they all came back. And I think I've actually seen them describe themselves as saying, we're the core trio, or certainly
Right.
articles describe them as such. And they all come back, and I don't know a huge amount about them. I do know like that Smilebit themselves got caught up in all the a product of and got caught up in Sega's restructuring around that kind of early 2000s here and stuff. And you see these three kind of, going off in different directions and occasionally sort of teaming up on games and stuff. But Smilebit itself is a really, I don't know, we were saying before, it was actually quite an important bit about that Xbox transition, and obviously they're on a few games and stuff. I mean, do you remember Smilebit being a thing? Their name rings true. But like,
Only from those early Xbox games, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, so this one, what was it?
Auto.
Auto, yeah, and Gun Valkyrie was their three games that I remember them from, really.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think they were around for a huge amount of time, because like a lot of the teams around that time, they just sort of went through structure changes. So you can see like the core of the team actually did stay together for quite a while, but the actual I think they came from one of the AM divisions or R&D divisions, like R&D 6 or AM 6.
Yeah, 6. I saw 6. Yeah.
So I think the core of it then, like that division was, if I remember rightly, like was making just a load of Japan only sports games. So I know that afterwards they did anyway, so maybe I'm mixing the two up, but they weren't Smilebit and creating Smilebit style games beforehand. And then they came from AM6 and then obviously formed Smilebit, but other teams around Sega were also getting chopped up at that point. So elements of Team Andromeda came across to them. So some of Team Andromeda went to United Game Artists, and some of Team Andromeda came into Smilebit. And then there's another couple of divisions, Team Aquila and something else. I can't remember. Oh, G9. I've never heard of G9.
Well remembered.
G9.
No.
Well read. Damn. So
read.
but these teams are all carved up. Sega kept you'll see it all through the 90s as well. Sega has the habit of carving things into out of Sega divisions, like first party but in-house teams, sometimes even incorporating them, like with Smilebit, and like, you know, making them in, and then later on they'll restructure and bring them back in house and like merge them back together and stuff like that. And that's very much Smilebit, who then went on to become like Sega Sports R&D or something, and just made a load of sports games afterwards, mostly also Japan only. And I think we got some of them.
Yeah. Did you say there was some horse racing stuff they did or something?
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but it's something Derby, like horse. You know, it's like big business in Japan, isn't it? Horse racing.
Yeah. I've seen a bunch of like horse racing games from Japan. Yeah.
Actually, do you remember? Did I tell you about the time I went to one of the big arcades in? It actually wasn't in Tokyo. Where was it? I can't remember. One of the other places we went anyway. And they, you know, floors and floors of arcades, like some sports stuff, some arcades, but they had this absolutely gigantic like horse racing setup. And you know, I'd heard about it before, but it's like massive, like multi-screens, like cinema-sized screens, and about 100, maybe 150 like terminals with like also with a screen for like sitting and betting on and stuff. Like, I mean, this is, I just didn't realise it's proper big business, but also
they're really feeling it.
Yeah, but also through the arcades, you know, because you can get virtual horse racing in the UK and stuff as well. But I don't know how big proper horse racing is, but this, you know, virtual horse racing was huge. So
interesting.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. There's not a lot more to say about that. I thought it was quite interesting.
I guess not. I know nothing about horses, so I'm done.
No. I'm trying to think of an interesting horse fact. I ain't got none. No. So there's a horse in Daytona. Saturday.
That's true. Yeah. Una, isn't it? Una? How do you pronounce it? I don't know.
Dude, I'm 43.
Too.
If you expect me to remember details like that, you're sadly mistaken, my friend. But yeah, Smilebit, I do remember, because obviously, you know, their logo comes up and it seemed emblematic at this time. But I can't pretend I knew about them or anything, or knew the developers, but they sort of seemed like, I guess at the time, seeing the games coming out, I sort of thought they were a third party, like a full third party, and it was just a Sega publishing third parties were. I didn't realise that they were this sort of in-house division that had been incorporated or whatever. So
no, I mean, I noticed them enough to think like, oh, their games, they've done some bangers. So it's like, you know, if I see their name associated with a game, I can hope for the best sort of thing. So because these Xbox games were, they were very good. Like, you know, they were probably destined for Dreamcast. Like, I think Jet Set Radio Future was actually going to be Jet Set Radio 2, wasn't it, on the Dreamcast, till it all went it all went a bit south. But
well, there's a couple of screen grabs a couple of screen grabs I'll put in our little window thing, because it's in magazines. You know, it had been slated for release on the Dreamcast.
It was scheduled.
You know, there's sort of pics and some information about it and stuff, and so it's definitely coming. Like I guess a lot of titles were, and in fact,
Toe Jam and L3 actually had a Dreamcast demo that they found. Someone found it on like a dev kit. And like, you know, that game did come out on the Xbox, so you know, it was interesting kind of getting that little glimpse into that game when it was Dreamcast bound.
Yeah, and I think because things as well, obviously a lot of these games, there's a lot of development work before they'll code anything, you know, planning and setting the game up and all of that stuff. A lot of ways it will change, but a lot of ways you can do that on any console and then just bring the project across. And I think that's where these Dreamcast games have got to, wasn't it? You know, planning stages and the design and development and how it's going to be, without necessarily having coded it, although some of those do exist. But and of course, like the team made the original Jet Set Radio as well, and so you know it stands out. You know, they're an important part of it. I did think, actually, I was playing Auto the other day, and there is something similar about it's a bigger leap. You know, it's obviously Saturn to Xbox is a much bigger leap for Panzer Dragoon than Jet Set Radio made from Dreamcast, but there is something similar about their approach. There's ever so slight dumbing down of the gameplay, I think, in Auto compared to what is maybe just, it's subtle, but it's like it feels just a little bit, I don't know, simpler, like because it's more fluid. The world doesn't look so Certainly doesn't look as barren, but it's, you know, the whole game is slicker and more polished, and the gameplay kind of is simplified a little bit to fit in with that.
Right.
Very much like what we're saying about Jet Set Radio as well.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played it, so I think I did. I saw that it worked on Xbox One, and someone gave me an Xbox One, so I like put the disc in to see if it worked, and it did. And you know, it looked real nice actually, but I didn't give it a whole lot of play time, and it's been many years. It's probably since early 2000s since I last played that one as well. So yeah,
I mean, still, I do like it. Does Xbox One do any of that AI upscaling stuff? Or is it
I don't know.
Is
I
it
don't
just
know.
like
I mean,
straight
no,
emulation, like...
no, you know what? No, I think Sega actually did put effort into updating it, making it like widescreen and update. Like, I think it works real well on what's the top Xbox? Series X, is it? Yeah. I think it looks real good on that apparently, and runs real well with high res textures and stuff. It's all, you know, been really done up. So yeah, but I've got it looks pretty good on the Xbox One from what I've seen. But
it's funny actually how many people that I've known. Larton's been one of them. We've got a Series X, basically not to play the current gen, is to either emulate stuff or play old Xbox titles. And you think, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
Well, it doesn't emulate the Sega arcades real well, like Model 3 and all that stuff.
Because at bottom line, it's got some serious grunt. You know, it's a powerful machine.
Yeah. It is really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, so some other just a couple of gems you got to chuck in about Smilebits. You know, they were the ones who did the Typing of the Dead port. So I think the arcade of Typing of the Dead was who was it? WoW Entertainment. I have no idea who WoW Entertainment are. Okay. But so the arcade was someone else anyway. I think it's WoW. But then Smilebit did the Dreamcast port, and then they also did, what did I say it was called? I was telling you about this earlier. Typing Jet. So like a mobile game of Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
And which apparently, so the idea is, it's Typing Jet. The idea is you type to evade capture by the police, I think. So I haven't seen it running. I think you saw a little video clip of it, didn't you? So
it was a very bad little short of a guy literally standing there. I sent it to you, but whether or not you'll use it, I don't know.
We'll have to work it in now. But so but as I understand it, the premise was it was like you type phrases that appear to escape capture by the police, very much Typing of the Dead style. And in fact, what I read was that the phrases that come up are for some reason phrases from the Typing of the Dead. So presumably, I don't know, maybe they just thought, let's reuse the code, because it was it was
shove that onto another game.
It was like apparently Japan only like mobile game, this Typing Jet, and it was, I think I read it was 2001, so it would make sense. Oh, we're making these other games, let's just randomly chuck some crap on mobile.
I wonder what kind of game that, I mean, the kind of phones and stuff like that you had back then. Did you say it was a phone game?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Like, what the hell? Because I'm picturing playing it obviously on like an Apple iPhone, but that was like for another 8 years or something.
Yeah, it was like Snake and all that stuff back then, wasn't it? It was like sub Game Boy, so I don't know.
Oh man, maybe I've got that wrong, because that would make no sense at all. 2001, yeah, like I had a Nokia 3330 in 2001.
Yeah. No, I mean, the video I saw definitely didn't look like, I mean, the frame rate was chuggy. Yeah, you got to put the video in now, but like, it definitely didn't look like it was a Snake era kind of graphics.
Well, maybe it was slightly later, or maybe they just have better tech in Japan. I don't know. So, but we'll show it anyway, and maybe even by the magic of editing, we can look up the date and put it on top to correct. Actually, a few of the videos we've done now, I wouldn't say we necessarily made errors, but certainly like we've said stuff like this, like, I don't really know the answer. I don't know, let's whack it in the little thing. And it does look
it never happens. So.
no, it's happened a few times.
Oh, you have?
And now it started looking like the little window is taking the piss out of us too, because it's like, it knows stuff that we don't know.
These two morons are banging on about something. They have no idea.
and we got to remember, if you are listening to this, you won't see the video, so pop over to YouTube and give us a little like while you're at it.
Indeed.
So I think that's our like main coverage on Smilebit. It's worth saying then that talking about the devs going from one game to the next, I have heard that the main devs, presumably that trio, are going to return for the reboot. So I'd say let's turn to the reboot, but we being the world, knows very little about what they're actually going to do for it, apart from the tiny clip that has appeared in like the New Era, New Energy trailer,
which looked good.
I mean, it looks like, amazing
graphically. It looks like spot on, doesn't it?
And actually, like you were saying something earlier about like when you first saw the Xbox and you were thinking like how good it looked and stuff, the update, and wow, yeah, you do think that about this one. It's a game that readily lends itself to being updated, and you know, you do. It would be nice to have it looking super pretty, having bigger cities. I just say the same thing. I hope that they keep it tight. You know, the Xbox got a bit loose, and if they go open world, if they go big levels, if they do anything that uses the power in that way, I hope they find a way to keep it tight. So
yeah, I mean, it's like, well, didn't they pitch it as a game as a service kind of thing, whatever that may entail? So I don't know how much that'll affect the dynamic of things and what that even means. Because I mean, I know that that's what Fortnite is, right? Is that what that kind of
I think
is? I don't really know what that
is.
entails.
You know, the fact that it's essentially they're going to deliver something that's not the end product. It will keep evolving. They'll keep delivering things into it. You know, so there'll be evolutions and gameplay modes and graphical styles and stuff that will come into it, which will evolve.
So it's not like the whole concept of just lumping a load of people into like a city or something like that, sort of like the big open maps on Fortnite or something, with loads of people.
Those kind of big battle royale stuff is like what a lot of the games, like these games as a service, have used that shoot 'em up battle royale stuff, or had some kind of like massive multiplayer thing. But I think what worries me about them is just so many fail. You know, it's like you see these huge projects where they pile money into it and like develop these games as a service because they've seen what can happen with them, with the likes of Fortnite. Yeah. And then they just fold because, you know, the people who want to play them they've got their chosen game and they just don't want to switch to something.
They stick with it. Yeah.
Because Sega did.
I'll give it a go.
Oh yeah, God. I'll give it a go. The thing is, I could see it being good. So you were saying to me before about which I haven't played. I think you've played it, have you? There is like this multiplayer mode in the Xbox One, which, if I understand it right, I haven't played it, is about like racing around the city. And then there's been
I guess doing more tags than the other people and stuff. But I never played it. So back in the day, I don't remember. I didn't even remember it was in the game.
Ain't got no mates, so ain't got no friends. So, but and then there was this fan remake of the Xbox game, which kind of had like built on the model they had and like added other elements in and stuff. So
apparently it was by a dude called Screen Racer. So yes,
nice. Screen Racer. He feels
Good
like
name.
someone who would develop a Jet Set Radio game. Screen Racer. Imagine him with the big goggles and a funky yellow jacket. Obviously.
Oh yeah! Shout outs to you.
He ain't looking this good, but who does? But what the point being, maybe that's something they could do. You know, they've talked about Crazy Taxi being this like massively multiplayer online game, and you know, this open world thing where everyone's piling in. You could see something like that working with this, if they have like little sandbox areas of the world, of the maps.
Yeah, I mean,
go in, bundle in and stuff.
I did suspect that's what might be involved, like you know, as a core kind of thing. But let's wait to see, I suppose, whenever further news comes out.
We know we talked about it before. You know, when Grand Theft Auto 5, the online version, that's kind of what you do. You know, you pile into a mission, other people quickly form in the lobby, and then you'll go in and do a sandbox game. Good work, you know. You can sort of team up with stuff. One thing I did say, it probably means absolutely nothing because it might not even be in the game, but in that tiny little clip, you do see Beat climbing up some surfaces, you know. So rather than just like hopping, which is the only way you get around upstairs, like he's properly climbing. So don't know if there might be a little bit more exploration to it, or a new gameplay.
Interesting.
Dynamic.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I guess maybe by the time this video comes out, there will be more known, more seen. But we, as at the minute, we don't know anything really.
We really don't know anything. I was thinking
he climbs like Lara Croft or something. You were saying.
I did say that, and it was a terrible comparison.
Oh, was it? I can't remember the video.
I was trying to think of someone else who climbs in a game. So
yeah,
Link. Who knows? It's nothing. I wasn't trying to drill it. The fun thing about knowing absolutely nothing about the game is all of this could be amazing predictions that people are going to look back on this video and say, "How did they know?" Oh, we just sound like
these dudes must be on
tosspots.
the dev team. Yeah.
Yeah, on the dev team. So, but I'm glad it's coming out. So, like all these games, I do think this is overdue, like a reboot. And there's certainly a really great core game mechanic to the game. You know, original was probably the tightest one. Xbox is still an excellent game, and I definitely feel like there's something they could build on. You know what we haven't mentioned is sort of the other more modern games that have come out and echoed it. So I'm going to get the name wrong. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I wrote it down so that I wouldn't forget. I think, that's what I wrote. So
Yeah.
well done. Good.
And there was another one which I don't remember hearing about. Hover. Do you remember that one? So
Hover?
Yeah.
No, don't remember that one.
So, but Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, I didn't sort of go and find out much about it, but at the time, didn't remember hearing that some of the original developers were involved in it in some way.
The sound guy, the Hideki
Naganuma guy. Yeah.
Numi, he was,
no, that's right. He did do some tracks for it, and
because he was like, he was on Twitter, wasn't he? And he was upset because Sega wouldn't greenlight a new Jet Set Radio, so he was like, "Fine, if you ain't gonna do it, I'll go with these guys who will."
I remember that because actually it was you that told me about that. Yeah, and who knows? Maybe because as in the recent weeks before we were recording this, like we've had that phase of Sega pulling a load of their IPs from various services and stuff, and you do kind of always wonder with things like turning down making Bomb Rush Cyberpunk a proper game or making one at the time. Did they have plans all back then? Did they know what they were doing? Probably not. Sorry, I just realised as I was saying that this is Sega we're talking about, so you probably don't even know what's coming tomorrow. But it's worth mentioning, like the other sort of game that has the feel, that Hi-Fi Rush game. Do you remember I was saying to you before? It's not a skating and tagging graffiti game, but despite that, it actually still has such of the same feel. So obviously the cel-shaded graphics is the immediate thing you grab.
Yeah, it looks really like it. Yeah. Oh, have you played it? Or?
Yeah, because it was on Xbox Game Pass.
And so I've never played it, yeah.
It's really good, but it's more than the look, because the feel of it, it's very cool, and like there's like little kind of cutscenes and characters, and it's very like stylized in the same way as Jet Set Radio, sort of in keeping with the graphical style. But its main dynamic is that you go around and you attack people and you jump and you move. You have to do it all in time with the rhythm of the music that's playing the whole time. And it's actually a really cool idea, and it's cool and new in the same way that Jet Set Radio was cool and new. But even though that's a very different dynamic, I don't know, there's something about it that has the feel of it as well. Certainly, like if you watch on Jet Set Radio, you see the characters are always bopping along to the music. When you do the little cutscenes, they're always dancing and stuff, and that sort of carries across. So that's part of it.
Yeah, I like that actually. It gives a high energy kind of feel all the time and stuff. They kind of, it kind of complements the graphics and stuff. It's like, it just feels exciting, and like the kids are down with it. They don't sit still for a second. These whippersnappers.
I guess. The way I'd sum it up is if you did a reboot of Jet Set Radio and there was some little side mission levels and it was Hi-Fi Rush and it was that instead, it would feel totally in keeping in my view. It just felt the same, different dynamic, but it was more than the graphics. It was also something about the vibe and the feel of playing it was very similar as well. So
it's interesting. I have to give that one a look, and I definitely want to give Bomb Rush Cyberpunk a look too, because that one actually I just forgot that one really until we started playing this. I'll put that on the list.
I remember all the hype and talking about it's the spiritual successor and stuff, and but then it sort of fizzled out, and I didn't play it. But I would definitely recommend Hi-Fi Rush anyway. So yeah,
Right, good one.
well, I will go to the question we also always ask. Firstly, about Future, would you play it now? Does it still hold up?
I would, yeah. I mean, like, I definitely would play it. Like, you know, it was, I had fun with it. It's you know, nice looking game, nice sounding game, good playability. It's just, you know, good variety in some of the levels. I enjoyed it. So, but I think if I was going for one of the series, I would go for that one first. So
Yeah.
I would fire up the Dreamcast one, or actually it's on the Xbox, isn't it? Xbox, XBLA, whatever they call it nowadays. I don't know if you can still buy it. Has it been pulled? I don't know.
No, well,
it's
I think if you have it, you can still play it, but I think you can't buy it anymore. Yeah, from a couple of months
but no,
ago,
I would play the first one probably above the second one, but I do like the second one at the same time. So
I wonder if that Xbox Live Arcade game has the same issues as you would find just putting the disc in, or is it just about the way it emulates?
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know, but I didn't have Jet Set Radio Future back in the Xbox's original life, and so I am playing it now, and I did really, and I've really enjoyed it. I think at the time it kind of got scored about 80. I kind of feel
it was well received.
I kind of feel like I'm about 80 as well. You know, it's like 80,
me
80%.
too.
It's like I don't think it's as tight as the original game, and you're right. Of the two, I play the original, but actually, I would play both because they are different enough that it's worth.
Yeah.
But when I went back to the original,
I agree.
It was just it kind of did make me actually love the original that bit more as well, because I was like, oh wow, they really nailed it with this one. So yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's been great fun doing Jet Set Radio Future and a bit of Jet Set Radio as well. Obviously, I've had the excuse to dress like an absolute nana.
Tonge, whatever that may be.
I've never heard that word before in my life.
Oh really? I hope it's not something really bad and offensive or something.
If it is really bad and you're listening to this and we've beeped it, go and
then
look
it's spot on.
I was going to say go and look it up.
What I'm looking at right now.
You won't know what it is. Yeah. What is a tonge? I don't know. Look in the mirror, tonge. So we've had a couple of exciting games. Can we build on excitement? What's coming next?
Oh, I think we can. One of the ones that blew my mind back in the day, I believe it was the third Mega Drive game I owned as well, and that is Golden Axe on the Mega Drive. Yes.
And this is classic Mega Drive for me. I mean, this is like, I've played a lot of Mega Drive games now, and in a way, Golden Axe has sort of receded into the history. But when I first got my Mega Drive, this is what it meant to me. You know, it was those early arcade ports. It's the look of it, the feel of it. This really symbolized. I always say to you, like I think we've talked about it before, you divide Mega Drive into kind of two main eras. One being this, where it's sort of that like slightly grainier, darky arcade like port era, and then the second where I don't know, maybe the devs found their feet, they got a bit more adventurous, it started to pull out some of its tricks and became more of its own console away from the arcade ports and stuff. But this really personifies that first era for me, and it's like,
oh yeah, I mean, this is one of the games that gave me the hype, like that real early when you're kind of first discovering how good games can be. It was like that kind of like, whoa, okay, this is like amazing, like the 2-player and everything like that, just like fighting your way through to the end boss. Brilliant. And just like having it on the arcade and then be on the Mega Drive, just like, this is wicked. So I am looking forward to this. So.
I think you're giving me the hype about hearing it. Like, you're right though, there was just a bunch of features in it you were like, I couldn't do this on my last console. Just riding the dragons, like the scale and the size of it, like the sound, it was very big and arcadey, unsurprisingly.
It was, very cool.
Yes, an absolute gem, both of them. Jet Set Radio, Golden Axe, beautiful stuff. Yeah,
it is indeed. So I guess then, with all that being said, well, this has been great.
Oh, see you later.